Hello everybody, welcome back to Life Stories. My name is Trent, and today we got more stories coming at you from Reddit/entitledparents. So sit down, buckle in, and let's get started. Our first story of the day is titled, My Sister is an Entitled Parent. So, I'm gonna start with a quick disclaimer. English is not my first language, so I apologize for spelling or grammar mistakes. Also, everything is quite freely translated from German into English. Now, for the pre-story. It's relevant, trust me. I, a 19-year-old male, am a hobby photographer since about October 2018. I only had a small beginner camera, about 350 euros, and a few cheap lenses. Although not very expensive, at the time, it has changed. My hobby still meant the world to me, and I wouldn't let anyone even lay a finger on my camera. So around February 2019, my sister, entitled Mother, or EM, asked me to take some pictures of her son's, my nephew's, 3rd birthday in July. Although I wasn't on very good terms with my sister at all, not just the usual brother-sister fights, I agreed since it was a good way to get my name out there because 2 of the guests wanted to marry a few months after and were searching for a photographer. She didn't say anything about payment or stuff like that, but told me I could bring my girlfriend if I wanted to. I said that I'd like to. Spoiler alert, this wasn't a good idea. Fast forward a month or two, and I got all the details about the guests, the party, the beginning, ending, what would be served to eat and drink, etc. So, the party was supposed to start at 3 p.m. and would be open-ended, because if my nephew was sleepy, he would get to bed and the adults would just relax and use the rest of the evening. We would eat barbecue and drink all kinds of non-alcoholic stuff. Fast forward to the party. I begin my photography job at about 2 p.m. to get some pictures and videos of the garden, my parents' garden, and the pavilion my parents and my sister put in the garden to sit under. My father was readying the grill and my mother accompanied him. At 3 p.m., I had already took about 250 pictures and a few videos not worth mentioning. My girlfriend arrived at about 3:15 p.m. The other guests arrived later than planned, and I sat inside to relax before all the people turned up. One after another, the guests showed up and gave their presents to my nephew. He was so cute when he opened them and was smiling as he played with his new toys. During this time, I again took about 100 pictures and thought that this 20-minute event of unpacking presents was quite repetitive, so I stopped taking pictures and just took in the moment. Now, for some abbreviations. My sister is EP, and me is me. The following conversation occurred. Why aren't you taking any pictures? Because I think I've got enough. But he's still unpacking his presents. Yeah, I see that, but 20 pictures of him unpacking the same book seems a bit excessive. No, please take more pictures. I should probably mention that she was on her phone the entire time. So, I started taking pictures, again, and again, and again. 50 pictures of him looking at a toy car, coming right up. 65 pictures of him unpacking a book, got that. After that, everything went chill for a while, and I thought that I'd keep my thoughts to myself, because I didn't want my nephew's 3rd birthday to end in an argument between me and my sister. So, my father started with the barbecue, and all the guests sat down. None of the guests were aware that I would bother every last one of them with my camera. Well, I thought I was just doing my job. Okay, so I'm taking pictures of everyone, and got some very good ones of my nephew. I didn't want to take a picture of my sister because she was on her phone the entire time. My girlfriend now came into the garden to spend some time with me, and she was very understanding when I told her that I would join her shortly because my sister wants this picture and so on. No one at the party was okay with their face on a picture, so I only got pictures with about 10 backs of heads. At around 4 p.m., I told everyone, because my sister wanted it, that I would take a group picture of everyone later that day. At 4:30 p.m., I had about 2,200 pictures taken and decided to sit down and eat, as well as spending some time with my girlfriend. So I did exactly that, got my sausage and talked with my girlfriend. Meanwhile, my camera laid on the table between salads and other stuff. So I finished my sausage, and immediately after, my sister walks my way and takes my plate away, telling me that I was finished eating. Well, I just agreed so I wouldn't start an argument with her. But then I decided to just stay at my girlfriend's side to accompany her, given she didn't know any one of the guests. Big mistake. About 2 minutes after my sister walks over to me again, takes my camera and asks me how to turn it on. how do you turn these things on? I say to her, on the right is a small lever. Push that forward. Oh, yeah, take the lens cap off before you take pictures. At this moment, I was kind of furious and frightened because my sister had my camera, and I don't like that. But I decided to go with it to not start some sort of argument with my sister. She goes away with my camera to the kids to take some pictures of them, when shortly she yelled to me, "This thing doesn't work." My mother went to her because my mother is more capable with that kind of technology than my sister. Turns out she didn't press the button fully. For everyone who doesn't know, the shutter release button has two states. Halfway pressed is autofocus. Fully pressed is click. She only pressed the button state 1 and not 2. Finally, peace, I thought. Nothing to worry about, I thought. Wrong. I don't think my sister knew that I heard that, but I heard it. EP to my mother, "He doesn't take any pictures because he wants to be all touchy with his girlfriend." I decided to overhear that because I wasn't sure that I understood her. My mother walked away into our house, and about 5 minutes later, I got a call from her to go and speak with her. Needless to say, I was kinda upset that I again had to leave my girlfriend alone. But a quick conversation between my mother and me cleared things up. Turns out, I didn't misunderstand her, and she really said that to my mother. I was furious. I stormed outside and grabbed my camera and my lenses and threw them in my camera bag when a guest comes over to me. "Didn't you want to take a group picture?" "Nah, not anymore," I said, kinda shouting, but I couldn't because I was about to cry. Note, whenever I work really hard for something, especially with photography, I get really into it. And if I do it for someone else and they start insulting me for being a human being that also needs breaks once in a while, I get really emotional. So my sister noticed that I was packing my stuff and bringing it inside. She didn't do anything. My girlfriend told me that she was leaving for the day, which I could understand. About half an hour later, I was sitting at my PC making music when suddenly my mother calls for me. "OP, your sister wants to talk with you." "No," I said. My mother then told me that my sister told her that she thinks my behavior was childish and denied that she ever said he doesn't take any pictures because he wants to be all touchy with his girlfriend. My mother and I laughed and she cheered me up. Also, my computer and Reddit helped me on that day. My relationship with my girlfriend ended about a month later, but I think nothing of it. Regardless to say, my sister didn't get the 2,500 pictures, and the only ones that saw the pictures were me and my parents, as well as my other sister. I haven't spoken to her since. Thanks for reading, and I hope you enjoyed my first entry on Reddit/entitledparents. It's interesting that your first post is about a photography story. I remember that the first story I read for this channel was also a photography story. Funny how things line up like that. Moving along, our next story is titled, "Your little brother deserves your room, so you can move into the playroom. Oh, by the way, you don't get a door." Everyone seemed to get a kick out of reading how horrible my father and stepmother were. This one is fresh on my brain, so I'm going to put it here while I'm able to remember. Someone wanted to know another tale, so here it is. Obligatory that this is paraphrased, with my mother having filled in some of the blanks, as I've blocked a lot from this time in my life. This happened after I'd no longer been able to go to therapy, right before the summer, and due to all of this and more, I was going to end up having to repeat my junior year. It was 2 months before school would let out, and there was no way I could get my grades up to stay in the honor program I was in for high school. Because of this, my stepmother had decided to approach me about my room. You see, as a little backstory, my father and stepmother had trouble getting pregnant a few times. My brother was a miracle baby, and they'd wanted another after him. They tried hard, for years even, to conceive my little sister. Because they were trying, they moved from the small house they had for the 4 of us to a slightly bigger one. It was this time that they started trying for my sister. Fast forward to me being 17, about to fail due to their abuse and other similar factors. In my state, siblings of the opposite gender can share a room up until a similar age. After that, it's considered illegal. My brother had reached that age, and thus couldn't share a room with my sister any longer. This is where I come in. I had my own room. When we had first moved in, they took me shopping to IKEA and let me pick my own room worth of furniture. Bed, dresser, side table, air cushion, even painted my room to suit my room theme. That being said, my stepmother decided that my brother needed my room. She told me that since I was failing my junior year and would be graduating a year late, that I could move into the playroom and get a job and start paying rent, since I'd be 18 when the next school year began. Normally, this wouldn't be such a bad setup. The playroom is huge, it had lots of space, and to some, she had a point. I didn't answer her because I didn't know what to think. My stepmother calls my mother over one day to sit down with me and talk about me failing, how I was going to end up just like my mother, by going from man to man and working a minimum wage job, and to pressure me into giving up my room. Eventually, I gave in. However, this was where the catch comes in. The playroom was still my brother and sister's playroom. Their toys would still be there. They could go in and out as they liked. This meant they constantly went through my stuff. It wasn't really my room. In addition, there was no door. And with the way the playroom was set up, as it was in addition to the house added on by the previous owners, there were large windows that had never been removed that look into the playroom from the kitchen. I had no privacy. If I wanted privacy, I had to get a job to pay for my own curtains and my own door. If I wanted that, it was supposed to teach me responsibility of being an adult. And since I was failing a grade and therefore couldn't go to college like that, their reasoning was that they were going to convert it into an area for me if I went to college. But since I'd failed a grade, they decided I could pay for it and be an adult. Later that summer, I was kicked out because my stepmother told me she resented me. Well, that's the end of the story, and that's kind of a sad ending, but I hope if there's any follow-ups you can kind of rectify things, and I hope things are going well for you, OP. And with that story out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have for Life Stories today. I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you're all doing well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Reddit content coming your way soon, and I hope to see you guys.